napkins and pals, and there's also therapy too.
Hello and welcome to Park Pals. Thanks so much for being here. We have a lot to cover, so let's get right to it. First of all, it's just me today. Maddie is not joining me, and I am by myself. So it's going to be great, and we have a lot to cover. First of all, I wanted to cover some things that we did not get to cover all the way in our last episode, Second Chunts, which if you haven't gotten a chance to listen to yet, please do. That is with Chris Carr. Super fun. So I had said that Sympathique, which is the song by Pink Martini, the song that's playing when they go to France. Anyway, okay, so that song is called Sympathique, and I was like, it's not, the direct translation is more of like a friendly, compassionate vibe. It's not really romantic, but it's still really like cute. And so I looked up the actual lyrics, and it makes so much more sense with Leslie and Ben's trip. And it's, I don't want to work, I don't want to have breakfast, I only want to forget, and then I smoke. It's about a desire to escape and relax rather than be productive. And honestly, that is exactly the correct thing that Ben and Leslie are trying to achieve. They're just taking a break from life and in this transition mode. So I just thought that that was really important, because I would think, or I would venture to guess, that it's not just because it's French, but also because of the meaning of the song that they chose to underscore it with that. So I'm going to say and hope that that is why. Okay, the other thing was that Bob Bancroft, who plays one of the accountants with Barney, the one that does not like Adam Scott or Ben, who is like, let's see what you got, Wonder Kid, and is like super judgy and weird and does not expect Ben to succeed, sent us in some voice memos. And how exciting. And I didn't get a chance to tell him, even though I told you guys last week, that he is on Xenon. And so I'm going to message him afterwards and let him know, like, hey, I know you from this. So, but let's hear what he has to say.
I got my job on Parks and Rec actually the regular way, by auditioning in person with the casting director. And what I remember is, and I still have this piece of paper somewhere, on the script, I saw the character's name was Frank, and I wrote down, "Let me be Frank," because that seemed to be his character. And that's exactly what I played at the audition. And what the heck, it seems to have worked out.
That is such a fun tidbit. Oh my God, you're absolutely Frank. Yes, both in the sense of the name and the actual characteristic of Frank. Oh my God, I love that so much. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that. See, this is why we get voice memos. I think I had said in the last one, he had said, I'm not really sure if I could tell you like much. There's not really much going on. But see, this is, you don't need much. You just need a little tidbit, and I obsess. Okay, let's listen to the next one.
On set, controlled chaos. That's all I can really tell you. It's when you're working single camera with a large cast, there is a lot going on. What I remember most about it is how incredibly adept and eyes in the back of their heads were all of the, particularly the camera operators, but all of the people involved with the sound and visuals were just insanely on top of their game, and making sure that all the sound was usable and that all the film footage was usable. It was really remarkable to see how incredibly talented those people were.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Yes, we talked about that too with, I talk about it ad nauseum, but with Jay Karras, we talked about the camera ops and how they are truly characters and vital pieces of information and pieces of the story. Absolutely. And I love that you noticed that. And I think Stacey had kind of said it was a little chaotic too, with her getting there early and then them not needing her, even though they said to get there early. And then she didn't do anything until after lunch and changing her costume like a couple different 100 times. So, but it sounds like it was just a lot of people, a lot of coordination. And so I'm glad that, Bob took from that really professional camera operators and controlled chaos, if you will. So that's awesome. I love this. Okay.
Working with Adam Scott was awesome. He really knew his character, of course, as you would, but he really knew how to get that on camera for the audience at every possible moment. From just minor blocking changes to how he positioned himself for camera and so forth. And in addition to that, he made sure he reacted to me and allowed me space to do what I needed to do. Really an excellent experience. And as for working with John Balma, wow. He is the inspiration for my work and my character there, because I realized it would really play if I simply did the opposite of what he had already established for his character. And it made for a really, really great dynamic, and he was awesome to work with, and I'm not surprised that he had a very decent run on that show. Rest of the cast, the ones I interacted with, were all awesome. Aubrey Plaza was particularly warm, welcoming, inclusive. And at one point when I was on set, Chris Pratt showed up. Oh, dear God. The energy on set, which was already awesome, instantly went into overdrive. And he was hilarious and personable and wonderful. And it is clear that he was a real favorite on set. That's kind of all I remember right now.
That is so nice. Thank you, Bob. Oh my gosh, those were fantastic. I loved those voice memos so much. Yeah, I love hearing that Adam Scott was a really great scene partner and allowed everybody space to kind of get the things done that they needed to get done, but also have fun. And, that he knew the logistics of it all. That sounds so cool. And then, I had written that we love John Balma. And yeah, that's fantastic that you just decided to do the opposite of what he was doing, because it absolutely worked and it absolutely made for the kind of, yin and yang of the whole scene. And then Adam Scott's just kind of in there as a straight man. So yeah, that's amazing. I love that. And I just also wanted to say that I love your voice. I love Bob's voice so much. I think he is freaking hilarious as far as acting wise goes. Sorry. The way that I phrased that, or the tone, the continuation of that sentence made it seem like he's hilarious with his voice, which I'm sure he can be. But I more so meant I love your voice, and period. And I love how funny you were in this show. So thank you so much for sending in those voice memos. That is so exciting. And I just love hearing these stories. Thank you. Okay, so now we are getting into this episode, Season 6, Episode 11, New Beginnings, directed by Alan Yang, who we know and love. He also plays Chang in Mouse Rat, so you know him already. This was written by Sam Means, who is a first-time writer for Parks, which is so exciting. He'll come back again for episode 16 of this season, called New Slogan, which is a great episode. You just know what it's about from that name. And then we also have him directing writing 30 Rock, 34 episodes of 30 Rock, The Daily Show, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, ton of writing for award shows like the Oscars and Golden Globes. He's also worked on Girls 5 Eva, so he must be in the Tina Fey circle, of course, because so many shows are Tina's, which we love. So fantastic. So exciting. Oh my God. Okay, so like I said, Maddie is not here, but she is going to give us her summary. So let's listen to that.
Hello, I'm here to provide a summary for this episode. New Beginnings. So here we are. Leslie returns to her position full-time in the Parks Department. Ben takes over as city manager with some friendly hazing. Chris and Anne make some big decisions. So my thoughts on this episode, I feel like Leslie is a mom in this episode, and she's visiting her kids at college, and she's always done everything for them. She's put a process in place for them, but now they're off living their lives as their own adults. And she's struggling with that transition of they don't need me anymore. And I think that's just kind of what I visualized her going through is like, wait, we had a way to do this at home. And now you're not following it. You just think you're like, you don't have to follow it anymore just because you're not in my house or because I wasn't here, right? And I really love the ending that she kind of shoots her own idea in the foot and tells Tom to rip it. And I just think that's lovely. And her coming to terms of like, I've done my job here. I've prepped my kids to not need me. And that's like what you're supposed to do as a mom, right? Is get them ready for that next phase. And she's done so well with that. And just because they don't do it the way she does it, doesn't mean it's the wrong way. So that's something I was going to ask is like, how much time was Leslie putting in that she feels so disconnected from the Parks gang? Because I feel like everybody else in city council, right? Like Jan, he has a full-time job as a dentist outside of doing city council. I don't know if we know any of the other people's jobs, but city council is only supposed to be like a part-time commitment, right? So that was my question, was like, was she just working that hard on her city council stuff that she was giving it so much time? I also feel like everybody needs to not be so judgy of Anne and Chris and their own journey. Like marriage might not be right for everybody. Having a big wedding might not be right for everybody. It's like everybody's on their own journey and that's okay. If it's a shotgun wedding, it is what it is. It's what they want it to be. It's what they need it to be. And I think it's a really good representation of what people go through, to be like pressured to do what society thinks is the right structure. But I love that they kind of just end up doing what they wanted to do. So those are my thoughts. And I hope that it's a wonderful episode. And again, I'm sorry I'm not there. I'll see you on the next one.
Awesome. All right. Yes, let's get into it. So we start with Leslie coming into Ron's office saying she should have to interview just like everyone else, even though she already had this job. She's no longer on city council, so she's going back to the home base of the Parks Department, and she feels like she should have to interview for the job that she once had. And I do feel like it's interesting because I thought that we had said that city council was like a full-time gig, but she could still be part-time at Parks, but I guess she just wasn't doing as much and she eventually just let that go. So that's interesting to me that she has to like interview or she's thinking she has to interview for the full-time position again. So that was a little bit of logistic mind game for me. So then Ron, starts taking it seriously. He at first doesn't take it seriously. And he's like, oh my God, it's your job. You did it for 800 years. Just do it. But then he starts taking it seriously and starts grilling her and actually asking her interview questions and saying they disagree with each other fundamentally. So she is not hired and he has a lot of other candidates to meet with. Okay. And she started this by saying, don't give me special treatment. And she ends it by saying, Ron, it's me. Give me special treatment. So well done on that. Let's see. Oh, I also had it written when she says, what are you writing? Is it good? Because he starts to take notes during their interview. And everyone knows that when an interviewer starts writing, it's not usually good. Or at least that's the stereotype, I guess. Like the trope. So yeah, love that so much. All right. So now Leslie is having a meeting with everyone and she notices the spirit dog board. And she says that she thinks she's a Cocker Spaniel instead of a Border Collie. Classic control freak. And yeah, there's no appeals process. Leslie tries to laugh along with everyone and it's really sad. Like Leslie is just the odd man out here, kind of like everyone has already had their school year and then she's just like the new kid coming in that doesn't fit in. And it's really sad because Leslie used to run this Parks game, if you will, like she says. So poor Leslie. Oh, that writing of can I get a what? And they both say what? And one right after each other, Ron and Leslie. I thought that was really smart. I thought that was really funny. Well done. So Tom, as the business liaison, has gotten the Indiana Brothers juice stand to rent out the stew space because the guy who sells stew at the parks is retiring. And we'll get to it, but his name is actually Stu. S-T-U. But, he makes stew. S-T-E-W. So Tom got an app that pops champagne whenever he says something awesome because Leslie's really proud of him for, figuring out the lemonade thing. So Tom says he's taking care of everything. And Leslie's like, so nothing I can do. And then she was like, well, I can straighten this picture. And then it falls, which I feel like is just a beautiful metaphor for this entire episode of what Leslie's trying to get accomplished and just kind of believing that she belongs here and she doesn't yet or doesn't anymore. Okay, so Anne and Chris are taking pictures all over City Hall to show their unborn baby where they met. Jerry asks when they're getting married, and Chris is like, oh my God, you were talking forever. I thought that was never going to end. But then Chris kind of takes Jerry, like, seriously in a way. He starts thinking about what he said, and he's asking Anne to marry her. And I was like, question mark? No, stop it. Right there in front of Jerry in the courtyard of the Parks Department? No, that's not them. If it was Leslie and Ben, maybe. If it was even fucking Sewage Joe. This is not their characters, and I'm not really into it. So I'm sorry about that. And I just don't, I don't know. I'm tired of talking about how they did Anne and Chris dirty, but you know what? It's how I feel. And this was so rushed, and it just felt very strange. But I do think it's funny that Brian Stack gets to come back, which I'll talk about a little bit later, as the jewelry store guy, Ted Theodore. And you know what? I had it written that, sometimes I look at reviews, especially on IMDb, or I'll, just research the episode and see what people were saying at the time. And someone on IMDb agreed with me that they loved the episode except for the Anne Chris part. So I'm not alone. I don't think I'm alone in that. So that sucks. Jerry starts choking and Chris won't let him have his water. He's a serious germaphobe. He thinks another cracker is going to help him get the first cracker dust down. Oh my God. And then they say, okay, well, let's go get an engagement ring and make this official. Oh, and cute little Jerry just going back. Oh, that was so beautiful. And then he just goes back to his whatever he was doing. So then we get to Ben talking to the parks people, giving them illegal cheese from France, from his France trip. And he sounds so robotic / chat GPT vibe. I want to be your friend as well as your boss. And it's super awkward and weird. And when April says, what the hell is wrong with you? It was literally the same time I was thinking. I might have even said it out loud as I was watching this episode. Ew, what? Why are you talking this way? It's so weird. And, then we learned that it's Ben's first day as city manager. So he's really trying hard to be both him and Chris. He hasn't figured out how to make this balance. And he really wants to be their friend and their boss, like he says. He's not being insincere. He just doesn't know how to make this real. There is a deleted scene, I was going to say, when we learned that Andy is Ben's assistant again, which I don't think I ever knew. But again, it was a deleted scene because Ben hired him to be the assistant at Sweetums. And now he's coming with him, essentially, to City Hall. We learned that they fired Andy when they fired Ben. And Andy bites the entire brie cheese. And Ben is like, oh my God, that was really expensive. And he just ate it in one bite. Classic Pratt and Andy. So yeah, Ben doesn't know how to handle this. He doesn't know how to be both happy and mad and positive and negative. And the idea that the dependents don't get insurance. Oh my God, that sounds terrible. And he has to break that news for sanitation because they come in later. That sounds awful. This government is not doing well by its employees. Let me just say that much. But maybe it's also because Eagleton fucked around. I don't know. I think it's probably punny, but just, that sucks is what I'm trying to say. Also in the rules being oh my God, and how they're super mandatory. They can't use Facebook. I guess I get that, but to block every time waster kind of sucks. Although you could use it on your phone. I know a lot of times the computer, you can't use it, but then you have to be off the Wi-Fi because Wi-Fi has everything blocked too. So time wasters like that, can be done a lot of times on your phone. You know what? I never said that. I never am on Facebook at my job. Come on. Who are we kidding? I work from home. Absolutely not. Okay. Andy uses his bathroom breaks to take showers, we learn, because bathroom breaks are limited to 5 minutes, which is ridiculous. And Andy's like, I can't shower in 5 minutes. Also, that kind of thing, I hate. I hate those rules. Those are absolutely unnecessary and will do the opposite of what he actually wants to happen. They will not be productive with all these restrictions. They will not be happy, healthy workers that actually want to do good if they have all of these like pressures and like, hands tied on everything. I think that does exactly the opposite of whatever the boss is trying to do by micromanaging like this. It's simply ridiculous. I do understand a little bit of the time waster websites, like a tiny bit, but even that kind of sucks. But the 5-minute bathroom breaks, who's monitoring that? Like, who are you kidding? That's stupid. I do love when Ben's, and I wonder if this was written in the script. I don't know how it was written, where he sings the song "Sanitation in the House Tonight." Oh my God. Leslie changes the spirit dog game to spirit kangaroo. Well, Leslie, that's not going to work. Everybody's the same kangaroo. You don't even have a spirit anymore if you're all the same one. No. And I will say, look, Kangaroo Ron does look like Ron. Okay. But, this is tough. And just, poor thing. She can't get in control. She wants to be in control again. And she thought she was just going to go back to normal. And that is not what is happening. So I think she's spiraling a tiny and seeing what she can do to, get back in charge. She asks Tom what step he's on in the system for presentations that Leslie built, preparedness system. And look, his steps do sound terrible, but we'll see that it's actually great. But I could see from Leslie's point of view, if all you've ever known is like your checklist and your binders, to hear Tom say like, I'm just going to rip it. No, that sounds terrible and dangerous. And so I do get that part. And Tom, you can tell, I could tell as an audience member, maybe some people didn't get this, but you can tell that Tom's just trying to appease Leslie by saying, okay, fine, you're the big dog. Like, I'll go back to your system. That's fine. But he's not really going to do it. You know what I mean? He's just saying it to be nice and to get her off his case. And then she bumps into and knocks over the lamp because she has no idea what they've added. And this was the hilarious part because she says, I'm the big dog in this house. Like, I invented this game, bro, this Parks game, bro. And then she just like, again, with the picture breaking and dropping, like she doesn't know this place anymore. She has to get reacclimated like way harder than she thought it was going to be. And, further proving Jen's point, like she's outgrown this. She doesn't fit here anymore in the best way. Like when you really have leveled your game, you can't go back to the beginning and expect to just be hunky dory. You know what I mean? Like she just doesn't fit in this space. And that is really, I think, scary for Leslie in a way. They might not show it as much, but it's also, well, I guess that's how it's manifesting. Her fear is manifesting into this like control freak girl, boss lady, whatever. But it's very scary to not know what your next step is and to know that where you are currently is not where you should be. And now you have to like recalibrate and figure everything else out and be like, oh my God, I got to get my shit together because I don't know what I'm doing here. You know what I mean? It's very sad, but we'll get there. We'll get there. All right, so then the boys in blue come into Ben's office, and he's terrified of cops as a friendly reminder, which I love that they bring this characteristic back. So this is clearly not going to go well. They got a tip about food coming into the country illegally because of his cheeses. So the cop we've seen before is Officer Killnose. He's come back a few episodes, in particular episodes where Ben is scared of cops. He is played by the actor Will McLaughlin, who is super nice and sent such great voice memos on the episodes, one of the episodes that he did, and it was amazing, super sweet. So nice to see him again. I was looking back through some of his emails, and just a reminder that he was friends with the writer Katie Dippold, who, couple things. First, she wrote Beauty Pageant, which is such a great episode, but she also played the one who is going to Richard Nygaard as well at the same time that Chris is when they're interviewing for animal control. And she's like, but just please don't give me this job because I'm terrified of animals. But I did want to read a little bit of what Will sent because I did follow up with him and I was like, oh my God, like, hey. And do you remember this episode? And he was like, I completely forgot about this episode. That was, that was a really clever idea. I think the pranking is what he was talking about. No real memories of that episode other than that's the first time and Adam and I really got to talk one-on-one, and it was right around when the film Mitty was being released. We talked a bit about that and his training and my training. Both shared stories about the Academy of Dramatic Arts. Not really much about the episode though. And I had written that there, and I'll tell you guys too, there was a scene actually where I think I responded to it. It was just so funny. He didn't even remember this. But there was a deleted scene where Andy says, like, do it again. Like, let's prank again. And Will says, oh, you know what? We have a hose, too. We could spray him down with it. And it seemed like such a total improv, which I really commend him for. But if it wasn't an improv, like, you know, that's still hilarious. And he did a great job regardless. But it totally seemed like an improv because it wasn't really like, the scene didn't, I just felt like the cameras cut at a weird moment. But either way, it was great. And yeah, that was another thing too, that I had looked up as well, that he worked, they worked together. Will McLaughlin and Adam Scott worked together on The Good Place in a 2016 episode, which is about 2 years after this, which is nice. They also worked on What's My Motivation in 2017. And it was Officer Prawn Mandler. Oh my God. Another character name person probably in that movie. And Trevor, respectively. So, oh my God. I'm so sorry, you guys. It's been a long week. What's My Motivation is the episode name, not a movie. So The Good Place episode, What's My Motivation, was in 2017. The Good Place came out in 2016. And that's why his name was Officer Prawn Mandler, because literally both shows were created by Michael Schur, and Mike Schur absolutely loves crazy character names. So that makes more sense. Very sorry for that confusion. And yeah, it just seems like they were having a lot of fun. And I really love that. And I'm so glad that he responded. It was really nice of him to respond. He didn't have to do that. So thank you, Will. I think he has maybe 1 or 2 more episodes left. I don't think this is the last one, but I'll definitely fact check that. The new cop that we see, so there's 2 cops. It's Will, and then the second one is played by the actor Mark Berry. His officer name is Officer Murphle, Merffl. So well done. He's been in a ton of stuff as well. 911 Lone Star, The Offer, Blade Trinity, Bob Hart's Abishola, and more. Mark Berry is retired now, so I did reach out to him, but he isn't doing much, or with acting anyway, and the entertainment. So he, I wish him well in his retirement, and I told him if he ever wants to talk about it, let me know, because like I said, you could literally send 2 minutes or even 2 seconds, and I would love it. Oh gosh, then Ben just keeps falling into all these traps too, because then he bribes them, quote unquote, and is like trying to get him to eat the cheese and like forget about it, and then he's like, oh no, oh God, I surrender. And I just love this like acting moment of Adam Scott's where he's like, okay, like being led away by the cops. It's really good. So now we're at the jewelry store getting an engagement ring, and Brian Stack, our buddy, Ted, is here. As a reminder, we did a full episode with Brian. He is so nice, so kind. I think that's one of the top 5 interviews, because he was just so friendly. I love talking to actors about also their characters and how they came up with this character, how they write their characters. Because as a reminder, he wrote on Conan for a very long time. Then he went to the Colbert Show, which is fantastic. And he just has so many wonderful characters that I was so nerdy with him about how he created those, and, how he just continued that energy and continued those sketches. So, and also he was a friend of Amy Poehler's in Chicago when they did sketch. So, and he knew her, and she moved to New York first, and all these things. So yeah, definitely check out that interview. I'll post it in the show notes too, but I can't say enough great things about Brian. He's awesome. Fun fact also, the ring store Ann and Chris go to is called the Fellowship of the Ring, or the Fellow Shop of the Ring, maybe, which was a parody, obviously, referencing Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. Let's see here. What is next? Oh, he asks Ann and Chris if it's a shotgun wedding, and I love his little, like, miming kind of thing. He doesn't even say shotgun wedding. And, you know, this other couple comes in, talks about how crazy weddings are and how much work goes into just the rehearsal dinner. Seriously, just the rehearsal dinner. And I had written a note. Well, I guess it doesn't matter to tell you now, but I had written a note that Maddie should tell her story about the crazy wedding things that she's had to go through, but she's not here. So I will just go ahead and tell you that it's nuts, all the things that go into it. And if you don't plan for those things, if you don't think about all the things this girl is saying, it will fall apart. And luckily, or hopefully, you will be lucky enough to have people to pick up the pieces for you and plan for you. But if you do not have that, you are in for a rude awakening. That's all I got to say. So the woman in the other couple is named Ashley Wigfield and looks like she's primarily a writer. She has written on Great News, the show, Miracle Workers with Daniel Radcliffe, Gossip Girl, Runaways, a ton of stuff. Not a ton after those couple shows that I mentioned just now that I'm super familiar with. But I mean, she is definitely out there and doing great work. And she did a fantastic job here. They did a great job playing off each other. I loved her reading on, you know, like I said, on seriously. That's just the rehearsal. Like, we got serious real quick, real fast. Also, her character name is Sansa Faramir. Oh my God, I love it. And I'm pronouncing that Faramir, but it's spelled Faramir. So, let's see. The man in the couple is played by Ben Begley, and his character name is Tyrion Fonzarelli. Oh my gosh, you guys, make sure now you're just fucking around and combining, you know, pop cultures. Okay. He's been in The Mindy Project, also 911 Lone Star, like our other officer, the Murdoch Death in the Family Show, which I believe is pretty recent, a lot of things. And again, just great work playing off each other. But lucky for us, Ben actually sent in some voice memos. So let's go ahead and listen to what he says. I'm so grateful and so glad. He said that he was running all over the place in LA for 2 days while on a quick work trip back out there. And so he couldn't get it to me super quickly, but I mean, it's still before the show. So I'm very excited before our show recording. So let's see what he has to say.
Hey, Holly. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited to talk about Parks and Rec, one of the funniest comedies of the last decade or so. It's wild to think how long ago it was. And I was a very small part in such an incredibly talented pool of people. So it means a lot that you reached out and wanted my take on things. What do I remember about the casting process? Wow, it feels like 100 years ago. I got married and have had 2 kids and moved across the country since then. But let me see what I remember. Well, I do remember that I actually read in the room, which doesn't happen anymore. Now everything self-tapes, which is fun, and you get to do it from your house, and it's easy, but there was something really cool about going in and reading in the room. And I remember Dorian Frankel was casting that show, and not only is she just an incredible human being, but she's really gifted at improv as well, and she would riff with you with your audition and play around, and you get to do multiple takes and be silly and just have a lot of fun. And that's why I think that show had such a good cast, is because Dorian was so good at bringing the best out of people in the room, so that your tape just shined for the producers to see. So I know I read with her. I don't remember any of our riffs because it feels like 400 years ago, but I remember we riffed a lot, and then I booked it. Ironically, it's really funny. The scene is us shopping for wedding rings, and I remember telling Rashida Jones and Rob Lowe at the time that I was actually looking for engagement rings for my own now wife and mother of my children. So I was playing a character nervous about the wedding while shopping for engagement rings in real life. So art was imitating life while life was imitating art, I guess. Both? Yeah, that makes sense. I remember the day on set, we were shooting at an actual jewelry store in Studio City. It was on the corner of Ventura somewhere. And so it was an actual jewelry shop. All those jewels were real. As far as I know, maybe they replaced them with fake jewels because they were worried I would run off with them. Not that I'm a thief or anything. I feel like that just implicated me as like a kleptomaniac. I'm not. But I don't know what the rules are I know you have to have fake money when you're on set. You're not supposed to have real legal tender, so maybe they swapped out the jewels. But suffice it to say, it was a real jewel shop, a real ring shop on Ventura Boulevard. And I remember it was pretty quick. I got there, I got into hair and makeup, and I think they were such a well-oiled machine, especially by that season, that if I remember right, there was at least 2 cameras, possibly 3, and we just knocked it out. We got to do the scene as scripted, got to riff a little, have some fun. There's a little bit of downtime in between setups to change lights, but for the most part, they just crushed it, and the crew was so on top of it, and Rashida Jones and Rob Lowe were total pros, and just, we got through it, and I was wrapped, I think, by lunch and on my merry way. I specifically remember Rashida Jones and Rob Lowe being incredibly sweet and welcoming. And, when you're a day player or a co-star or a small role on something and you're working with the main cast or like big names, you're always a little nervous at first because you're like, oh man, I don't want to say you're not important because you're all pieces of the puzzle, but like these people are huge names and there's an intimidation factor for sure. And they couldn't have been nicer human beings. Rashida Jones was so sweet, and just chatting with us in between takes. They didn't like go off to their trailer and disappear. They hung out with us and were chatting and asking what was going on. And I told them the story about how I'm actually shopping for wedding rings. And I remember we were looking at rings in the case and I was saying like what cut I was looking for and stuff like that. And Rob Lowe was such a cool guy too. He was so nice. And fun story, I ended up years later doing an episode of 911 Lone Star with Rob, where I said it like we're best friends. Me and Rob, we go way back. But I did an episode of 911 Lone Star with him where I play his urologist talking about his erectile dysfunction, his character, not him in real life, his character in 911 Lone Star. And my character in that scene is like instructing him on how to inject his member with a giant needle. It's ridiculous. It's a very ridiculous and funny scene. And his comedic timing is so good. He's so subtle and just, he has such good timing with comedy and drama. And he remembered me. We chatted about Parks and Rec when I did the 911 Lone Star episode. And it was fun. It was fun to get to work with him again. So both experiences with Rob Lowe were incredible. And Rashida Jones, I hope to work with her again because she was a lovely human being. It really felt like the whole set had like an air of like no jerks allowed, Everybody was so nice from top to bottom. It was just a really great experience, super welcoming. You felt like you were part of the team, even though you're there for one day for a few hours. I'm sorry I don't have more monologuing about it, but overall the experience was great. And my favorite thing since then is stuff like this, where because it's such an iconic show, occasionally I'll have friends that are doing a Parks and Rec rewatch, or they're watching it for the first time, and I'll get a text out of the blue from somebody I haven't heard from in years. And they'll be like, oh my God, I had no idea you were on Parks and Rec. That's so cool. And they'll ask very similar questions to what you asked. And it's just neat. It's neat to be a part, however small it was, of such a really big show. It reminds me of when I did the Mindy Project after this. It's just like working with comedians who are like at the top of their game and getting to riff and have fun and just feel like you're a part of something that will live on and people will remember and cherish. And clearly there's still a huge audience for it. So it's awesome. I feel very honored that you reached out and wanted to know my story. And if they ever reboot Parks and Rec, maybe they'll bring my character back and I've been married. We'll have a whole new story. If my wife in the scene was so obsessed with every single detail of our wedding, that was all the planning was just for the rehearsal dinner in that scene. So I can only imagine where our characters are now with like 6 kids in a house that's perfectly decorated to her taste. And I'm like, shoving down an ulcer for the 8th time and just smiling and hiding my terror of her. That was definitely the vibe I got, is that my character was very like, yeah, it's really intense. Planning for the wedding is super intense, but I love her, so it's okay. And I thought that was a really funny concept. So yeah, I think basically my pitch is a spin-off of our characters, like a whole 5-series arc. You know, maybe it becomes dramedy, like a Breaking Bad at some point where he just can't take it anymore. And he's like, oh man, I gotta get crazy here. You know, I'll workshop it before I pitch it around anywhere. But thanks for having me on the show. You can catch me in other shows that people love, like The Mindy Project. I did a couple episodes of, I believe, the final season of that. I have a movie that I wrote and with my wife, and we got to play the characters we wrote, called The Funhouse Massacre. It's on Amazon Prime. And for a totally different side of me, non-comedic, I played a pretty scoundrel lawyer to Alec Murdoch, the real-life character in Murdoch, Death in the Family on Hulu right now. I'm in episode 4 as Corey Fleming, who's serving 18 years in prison right now. So not quite as nice and chipper as my character in Parks and Rec. Yeah, so that's about it for now, but I got some scripts cooking in the works, and maybe I'll be able to share those soon. But again, thank you for having me. I hope this was helpful, and I can't wait to hear the episode. Until next time, when they reboot the show and do a spin-off of our characters. See ya!
Oh my gosh, that is freaking hilarious. Thank you so much for sending that in, Ben. Oh my God. That was fantastic. I have a lot of notes that I need to respond back to. But first, yes, if they reboot Parks, and I'll do a podcast on the reboot as well. Okay. And we'll just be raking in the money. How's that? No, but on a serious note, I actually say that so many of the characters could have webisodes or like spin-offs or whatever, because The Office actually had quite a few webisodes. And I know that most of the webisodes were with, I guess the lead characters, as far as like, or like, the accountants would have one, and then they would just expand on their life or their like character story. So I've said that many times, that there should be webisodes of all of it. And I would absolutely watch that. Yeah, it could be a dramedy moment. Yeah, I would analyze that as well. So back to the beginning, you were talking about self-tapes versus in person. Yeah, totally makes sense. And especially with Dorian casting, oh my God, I can't imagine how fun that was. And what we always hear from guest stars is how relaxed she makes you feel, and how it is really fun. And there's just kind of a connection there because she likes to improvise as well. So that was really good to hear that. And I think she's one of the casting directors. I hear it all the time, but in real time, I feel like when I hear from guest stars, it's like she's one of the casting directors that really is rooting for you and wants you to get the job. So I'm always so glad to hear that. Oh my gosh, yeah, so ironic that you were having like a parallel moment with the character as far as like the engagement in real life versus your character. Oh my God, so fun. And that it was an actual jewelry store. And yes, very interesting about the real jewels and what they did with the real jewels, if those were maybe somehow still in there. Who's to say? And yes, I think you are a thief. Just kidding. Yeah, that is why they changed everything to fake jewels, because they knew you were going to steal it. And so good to hear about Chris and Rashida and how they talk to you, and working with Rob Lowe on 911 Lone Star. I totally put that connection together, but I wasn't expecting that behind the scenes moment. So fun that you were the urologist. No way. Oh my God. That is so crazy, that especially because 911 and Parks have guest stars with so many of the lead characters, that like the fact that it was Rob in both shows that you had scenes with is truly uncanny, I feel, and very serendipitous. So that's awesome. That's super cool. And yeah, you were saying that you felt like there was like some unspoken rule for no jerks allowed. And that's exactly right. Mike Schur has said many times for his shows, his one rule is no assholes. He doesn't want to work with them, and that they don't get stuff done, and it's just not a fun time to be around. So that's so good to hear that rule was upheld. I love it. Love the imagination about the about the spinoff. That's all I have to say. Rounding it out, and give me the spec script, dude. Like, come on, my guy, let's get it done. You have stuff on Amazon Prime, okay? We'll figure it out. Thank you so much, on a serious note, Ben, for that lovely voice memo. Oh my gosh, how exciting. This is why I love doing this show, because I just love hearing, and this is why I kind of made it so that the show is so specific to the guest stars, because you just never know what information you're going to get. And every pretty much every voice memo has made me love the show more. Just hearing from actors as real people how their day on set was and how they got the job. It's just so fascinating to me. And like I said, you could literally say anything and I would be very interested. Okay, moving on. Chris doesn't remember typing jewelry store into the GPS because he was getting gas. And Anne was like, that was the one romantic thing that we had kind of going for us because, yeah, this couple that Ben was a part of is talking about how, they've been thinking about this for a huge time, a long time, and Anne and Chris have not. So we find out next that Tom is not doing this super system of Leslie's and he's doing his own system. And look, it's working for him. So, I mean, we don't see the full scale of how much it's working for him yet. But right now, this is what he's doing. And I love that Ron can't get over what kind of hair that was. And elk hair is the most effective hair for binder security. You know that, Ron. So, yeah, again, this is where Leslie is spiraling / kind of trying to control both Parks and Tom to get back on top. And it's just not going well. Side note, Leslie and April are both wearing France-themed shirts. Leslie has Eiffel Towers on her shirt, and April's has colorful macaroons. And we're wondering if, meaning the people online, we're wondering if this could be a nod to the previous episode, Second Chance, where Ben and Leslie went to Paris. Who knows? Who knows? Oh gosh, so Ben is freaking out. He's really going crazy over here. And this cop is super good. Like I said, Will is really good at improvising as far as and by improvising, I don't mean just as an actor. I more so meant his character, although he's great in real life too. But he was he's just glomming onto everything Ben says. When Ben says he hasn't jaywalked before and he's never been to Colorado and, but then he keeps backtracking and the cop is just you just can't get your story straight, can you? And then we learn that Donna, April, and Andy are actually pranking him. And to be honest, that's kind of terrible. I would be really mad at my coworkers if they did that to me, especially if they know how much I hate cops, which I don't know if maybe they knew at what level Ben was scared of them. But I feel like they could have done a lesser prank that would have been a little less scary. I don't know. Tell me how you guys feel about that, because I just feel like it could have been a little bit lesser than what they did. And I don't know if I would have considered okay. Brief tangent really fast. I don't even know if this counts as a prank that they are talking about, but Amy Poehler's podcast, Good Hang, I listen to it all the time, and her guests talk about how pranking / teasing is a form of love for a lot of them, and if you're nice / manners, that's for strangers, and I can't agree with that. That's the one part I feel I just don't agree with for Amy. And I do understand she doesn't mean mean pranking or your mom jokes or anything like that, although I guess maybe that could be fun. But it's not for me, and I don't like pranks at all. I don't think practical pranks or practical jokes are funny. They don't make me feel you like me more. They make me feel you actually hate me. And this is where I feel Ben is getting confused, because we learn at the end of the episode, obviously, that Donna said that they did this because they love him, not because they don't like him or don't want him as a boss or whatever. But for me, I'm with Ben, where I'm just oh God, they really must not like me and think that I'm stupid or really hate the rules that I put forth or whatever to do this to me, because this sucks and doesn't feel good. You know what I mean? That's just my 2 cents, but I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Also, it's not fun. It's not a fun prank to me. It doesn't make me laugh at the end of the day. It's not I don't know. I guess it's Punk'd. You know what I mean? I never really loved Punk'd. Obviously, I liked watching it because of celebrities that are rich getting stuff happening to them. But I don't know. It's weird to me, and it's not my vibe. So if you're my friend and you're listening, don't prank me, please. You can do a surprise party or a surprise something else, but I don't like a prank. It's mean. It feels mean. Okay. Leslie is more controlling again. She's trying to get Stu to not retire so that Tom doesn't have to do his presentation. So funny that his name is Stu Fretch, not French. I thought it was French, but Stu Fretch, Fretch, and he makes stew. Stew and stew. He is played by the actor Van Epperson. He looks so familiar to me. I thought that maybe he had been in a couple more episodes of Parks, but no, this is his first one, and I think it's his only one. Van reached back out to me, and he's going to send over some voice memos as well, so I'm really looking forward to that. He sounded very nice via email. He's been in a ton of stuff that we love, so maybe that's also where it's familiar to me, because I've just watched every show he's been in, some of which are Veep, NCIS, Fresh Off the Boat, How I Met Your Mother, like so many things. He's also a stage director, which is a really fun fact about him. I love reading actors' IMDb bios and finding fun facts about them. So if you're an actor, I'll be looking. Yeah, I loved him, and I love that the lady brings out champagne stew flutes. It's so precious, and especially at the end of the presentation, which I know we'll get there, but I just really love his performance when he says, "I think I've made a terrible mistake." But anyway, before that though, Leslie does convince him to stay, and he's like, "Okay, I'm doing it. I'll do it. I like, you've convinced me." Let's see. Oh, yeah. I feel like stew flutes could be cute because sometimes you can eat stew or drink soup, if you will. But the fact that it was really hot doesn't make it super appetizing to me in a champagne flute. Okay, so Chris and Anne decide on a ring, but they're asked if they want to engrave the ring. And Anna's like, wait, we haven't thought about this. I don't even know what we'd engrave, because you'd think that we would engrave the date, but we don't have a date. We don't have a venue. We don't have literally anything that an engaged couple would have. And so they're like, so maybe we just like don't get engaged, ? And Brian is just staring, or Ted is just staring at them the whole time. Like, what the fuck are these people doing? Do they really want this ring? Do they not? And then Anne and Chris are rubbing off on this other couple because now they might not get the ring. Because like she's thinking, like, think of what this money could be spent on. Because Anne and Chris have their whole moment of like, we're really married more than most people. Like, we're having a baby together. We're doing all these things, whatever. And the other couple's like, we could put this on a house. Like, we could put this as a down payment on a house if we don't get this ring. Like, think of all the actual life that we could spend together. And oh my God, Ted is going to lose his commission, and he's just not having a great day with these people. Ugh. So Ben essentially punishes the team, the Parks team, for to not do this prank again. Like, super casual, like, just, you'll just get suspended if you do it again. Like, no big deal. I love the way he says that. And I love that Andy calls himself Government Junior. I think that's hilarious. And he's trying to talk Ben through it, saying like, prank them back. And Ben is like, I know I could loosen up, but I don't know how to do that. And then we'll see his choices. Yikes. So Leslie comes in to Ron's office, where Tom is as well. And she says she saved their bacon, which is hilarious that Ron takes it seriously. Impossible. You don't even know where it is. And he looks up. That's so good. And a great reminder of how the camera operator flashes to him and looks up, like catches him looking up at the ceiling. Great work for the cam ops. And all right, so she says she got Stu not to retire, so the pressure is off. You don't have to worry about it, Tom. No big deal. I saved your ass, essentially. And I like this moment too, where she's like, where Tom's like, Leslie, do you still use Moose? Like, let's put our differences aside. Like, you cannot be doing that. That's a really funny side note. But then, they come to the conclusion that Tom's going to do his presentation and Leslie's going to do hers, and they're just going to see which one the committee likes. And we'll just go from there, and we'll see which one works out the best. So now Anne and Chris are still talking it over regarding the engagement. So they buy the ring again after it had been refunded. Ugh, yikes. This goes on for too long in my mind. And I'm sorry that I don't have any patience. I'm so sorry. It's just not the vibe. Okay. So Chris gets down on one knee. She says, I don't know. And I do love Rashida's performance here. I feel like it could be really cheesy and weird, but I do feel like I like her little moment of like, I don't know. Like, maybe not, and yeah, this is the part where they said they pretty much are married anyway with the wedding, they don't need a wedding ring, and Anne let him watch Grey's Anatomy, and he can pee with the door open and that kind of stuff. Also, side note, when they're discussing Grey's Anatomy, just a friendly reminder that Rob Lowe was strongly considered for the role of Derek Shepherd, Patrick Dempsey's character. So what a different alternate universe that would have been. And I love that Chris is obsessed with Grey's Anatomy. I really like that. Yeah, poor Ted. This is really wild and like really interesting for me as an audience member and for us all to see Ron stand up for Tom and really tells Leslie that, you know, Tom has grown a lot. He's learned a lot from you and he's not who you left him as. You know what I mean? Like he has run a business. He sold it for a profit. He's doing all of these things that you just have not seen yet. So maybe you need to just watch, which I know sucks for Leslie because she likes to be very action oriented, but she also needs to understand that her team is really self-sufficient because of her, and she just hasn't been able to wrap her head around that yet. And it's a crazy reminder that Leslie's not in control, and that's really tough for her, and she hates it. So, okay, and then we're moving on where Andy is warning Donna and April about a prank that went too far that he was trying to help Ben with. Oh my gosh, Ben walking in being super sweaty and like so weird and like body movements just like, oh, and he can't speak like a normal person. Follow to be, guys, for, you know, normal government reasons. Oh my God, it's so funny. Ben can't make it. He cannot go through with it. He drops it. He can't handle it. He says he hired guys to kidnap them all, shoot Ben, drive off the river or the bridge or whatever, and that's when divers would come in to save them so they didn't drown. Oh my God. I love this Donna moment with the bleep where she's like, what the bleep? It's so good. Literally, what the fuck? Because I think I forgot how heavy and intense it gets to think about them literally driving off the car and Ben endangering their literal lives for a prank. But April loves it because the squibs go off and it really does look like real blood. They did a great job, this props department. I'm sure they had stuff on set, but it looks great. And blood gets all over April and she loves it, and they take a selfie and they're really into it and everything is smoothed over. Oh my God, Ted can't now, you know, we're back at the jewelry store. Ted can't go home to his son. Just pick a thing. And then Anne decides on the locket, which I think is a really great decision to come to. She wants a locket with a picture of their child. She doesn't want a ring. She just wants this memory keepsake thing. And I think that's a really good choice. I wish that we had gotten there faster, but I'm glad we got there when we did. Now we're at the Pawnee Business Coalition to present our stew/lemonade presentations. The lady character is Darva Snurman, I'm going to say. Is that how you pronounce her last name? I'm so sorry. I think it is. And she is played by Beth Hall. Oh, well, I was making it seem like Snurman was a real name, which maybe it is, but that is a Mike Schur name. So Snurman it is. Anyway, Beth Hall plays this character. She's really well known for being Caroline in Mad Men for 20 episodes, Wendy Harris in the show Mom for 128 episodes. Wow. She's been in so many things. Super fun. I love her acting/performance in this one. And I love the way that she's like, because I like pink, or I love pink, when she gets her pink lemonade. It's really cute. Let's see. The man in the coalition has the character name of Carter Voistingham, Veus Tingham, and he is played by William Charlton. And this is one of the ones where I read his IMDb and I was like, I have to tell everyone this. So he has in his bio that he grew up in Italy, did Shakespeare in Colorado, and then went to the London Academy of Dramatic Arts. Fancy. I added the fancy part. He's been in The Rum Diary, Quantum Leap, Law & Order. Looks like he has some upcoming projects or episodes for Law & Order, so that's fun. And we'll have to check out which episodes he's in. He has a really fun picture on his IMDb profile with him in scar makeup, like he has a scar down his face for a project called Project Arbiter. And I think that's a funny crossover. Not really a crossover, but it is coincidental and ironic because the Arbiter is a character in the Cones of Dunshire for Parks and Rec, and I love it. Well, so after Ron's little heart-to-heart moment with Leslie botches her presentation for Tom, and it gets really intense. She is really talking about how Stu is just going to be doing this until he dies, until we bury him under that shed. And this is where Stu, a.k.a. the actor Van Epperson, does a great job of being like, never mind. I think I made a terrible mistake. And then I love that she kind of passes the torch at this moment where she's like, rip it, you know, go for it. And I think this is a really big thing to do for her, especially in this moment, because she hasn't even seen Tom's presentation. It's not as if she's like, oh shit, he knows what he's doing. She really steps back and is like, okay, I'm going to let him do what he does and see how it goes. And she's not disappointed. And I love that we're getting to see the fruits of Tom's labor. Like, we've been talking about how he's grown, you know what I mean? But he's really showing us now, or the writers are really showing us now, which is great. He has data. He has facts. His laser shows are actually like statistical. Like, it's fantastic. And all the things that are probably in Leslie's binder, he did, just in a different way. And I think that was something also that Leslie was struggling with, because she didn't even know that he was capable of data in general. So to see all of the like style over substance energy that he was giving off was probably really, overwhelming. So this is just a different way than Leslie would do it. And it gets to the same, maybe better even, depending on the person, process, and gets to the end same solution. And I think that's what Leslie is understanding. And as a control freak, it's very hard. As a recovering control person, I do feel like it's hard for you to understand that people can do the same thing you need them to do. They're just going to do it in a different way. Or understanding, just accepting that they're just not going to do exactly how you want it to be done. But did it get done? Yeah, it did. And sometimes it's not as good as what you did, or it's different, or whatever. But that's also the part where Leslie has to understand that her training has really come in handy. And not only was the training, with the binders and stuff coming in handy, but also just watching her. She set a great example. And like Ron says later on, she really set this up to be a super well-functioning government organization. And she's also the one that has kind of told, along with April, but has kind of told Tom, like, take the parts of the job that you like and make it your own, essentially, which is what Leslie is always doing. So I think it's really important. And I think they did a really good job of showing that this time. Okay. So we're back at the bar, or we're at a regular bar, back with Ben, Andy, Donna, and April. And there's a respect noogie, which is hilarious. And Donna says that this prank was respectful. This is where we talked about how, like, we didn't do it because we don't like you. We do it because we love you. And I think Ben is trying to understand / wrap his head around that too, because it is true. And I think them saying it is really important for Ben to hear. Like, we really love you. We're not doing this to hate you. You know what I'm saying? So that was really important. Oh my gosh, this little runner moment, or maybe it's not a runner, I don't know what it is, but Andy can't spell respect or say Aretha Franklin's name right. R-E-S-P-E-G-T, and the urethra Franklin. So disrespectful, Andy, actually. But it is really funny. That's really well done. Good writing. That's hilarious. So Tom and Leslie make up. Tom gives her a gel-based serum because, building on the not using mousse thing. And it works out. The lemonade thing works out really well. And Leslie just has to kind of accept that this is what's happening. She is no longer the top dog, and she doesn't need to be, Leslie and Ron are drinking to that. And Leslie is like, does this department even need me anymore? And it's true. Leslie has shaped them into efficient and caring government employees. And Ron is like, no, actually we don't. And building on Bob Bancroft's moment of, yeah, let's be frank. This is not where you need to be. This is a way station on the road to bigger and better things. We both know you're not going to be here forever. And I love Amy's performance, like facial expression, where she's kind of nodding along like, yeah, I guess you're right. But it sucks still at the same time, because this is like her home, Parks is her home and her nest, if you will. And she's built this nest. She started as kind of like a baby, but not really. She was always the mother hen. And now she has to fly away because her babies are grown up. Oh my God. She did a great job. And she'll always be their mother. Okay. Anyways. So then we learn that Ron has received the Government Employee of the Month because he signed off on Tom's job and it's already making a profit. And Ron immediately loses his shit and takes it, snatches it out of Leslie's hand. We see him cut it up and bury it at the state line so that no one can ever find it. That was crazy. And that's pretty much it. I will just round it out by saying, it was a pretty straightforward episode. I feel like this was just a reset to show us that Leslie really does need to move on. We just need to get her going somewhere. And she truly has left her legacy. I mean, her footprint, her handprint is all over the Parks Department, in her employees, in her binders, in her processes, plural. And I think this was just a really nice episode for us to understand and witness, you've moved on. Whether you like it or not, it's time to go. It's time to do something else. And because I think we've been telling Leslie for so long, you deserve better. You've been doing better. You can dream bigger, just like Jen Barkley says. But we haven't seen it. And this is a really, really important episode for us to understand, this crew can do without you, and not in a bad way. You've trained them well, and it's time to move on. And it's really sad. It's bittersweet, because us as the audience is how, what are we doing? Huh? Ooh, where? Who are we without the Parks Department? So it's really beautiful. Okay, guys. Well, we will not be here probably for a week or so, maybe more. But if you are celebrating Thanksgiving, we hope you have a nice holiday with your family and your friends and whoever you are celebrating with, and we hope that you have a non-hectic lead up to the holiday season. So I know that's very hard and very difficult, but I can't believe it is going to be December so soon. We're literally almost done with November. I don't understand it. Not really. We have 2 weeks left. Well, I don't know, depending on when you're listening to this. But anyhow, thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, everyone. You guys are the best. And thank you so much to our guest stars. Oh my God, I know I've ended this podcast 100 times, but thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love hearing from you guys. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Ben. The 2 Bs. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye, guys.
There's a park and some pals, and there's also therapy too.